what's happening, everyone? It is I, the man, the myth, the mustache, Tim here with a brand new video for you. Welcome to Season 1, Part 3 of What If My Hero Academia Had a Suicide Squad. Please sit back and relax because this story is gonna be fun. With that out of the way, let's get this story going, shall we? Bad Company loaded up in a behemoth on wheels called a High-Speed Articulate Vehicle Ordnance Carrier, or havoc, as was so aptly named by the squad. It was a two-part vehicle with an experimental cold fusion engine that went 0 to 100 in less than 20 seconds, despite its mass and size. 18 highly resistant metal and puncture rubber weave tires were upon the wheels that gave motion to this metal beast. Each part of the Havoc was about the size of a box truck with heavy armor throughout. In front was the cab with room for 3 with a hatch to the roof. Once there, someone with an emitter quirk could stand and channel their power through a special turret. The cab sat over the engine like a demonic flat-nosed big rig with projectile-resistant glass and a large take-no-prisoners heavy bumper and winch. The back end was an attached trailer that had room for 8 with a deployable ATV desert buggy with room for 3 with another turret in the back. There were 2 lockers that were secured by Hawks' biometric and hand scans that were filled with every demolitionist's wet dream, from flashbangs to ordnances powerful enough to destroy a single city. They stood there as if guarding the sliding door leading to the front cab. The Havoc was a marvel of American engineering that sat upon a combination of air and hydraulic suspension, ensuring a comfortable ride to wherever needed to be erased from existence. The American-built Road Leviathan then started its cold fusion with a soft hiss. Frozen water vapor misted out of its vents along the bottom rails. It then ignited with a roar as it pulled out of its docking bay, then down a system of underground tunnels. It quickly gained speed as it suddenly exited the tunnels and launched itself out of the waters surrounding Tartarus. It landed on the main road quickly, blending in with traffic as holo projectors disguised it as just another big rig hauler. Inside the cab were Hawks in the driver's side, Gentle Criminal in the passenger seat, and Overhaul in the back, just below the turret hatch. Woohoo! America! Havoc was an artificial intelligence-assisted smart vehicle. It had to be, due to its sheer mass, speed, and ability to be driven by just about anyone without issue. A hand opened up the glove box and pulled up the manual out of sheer curiosity. Of course this had to be built by the Yanks. Gentle Criminal rolled his eyes in disgust before tossing it back in the glove box and shutting it. Only they could come up with something so destructive, gaudy, overcompensating. Overhaul looked up at the turret hatch. Ease off, you two. This beast is perfect. Look at our company. Hawks had instantly fallen in love with their mode of transportation. Yes, indeed, it truly is bad company, Gentle said as he adjusted himself in his cushy Corinthian leather seat. He spoke once again. I will say, though, it does have very comfortable seating material. Because why not sit your ass in luxury while eradicating and changing the topographical map? Overhaul dropped his head and raised his metallic arms to the roof. Indeed. Gentle Criminal had to agree with him while their commander scoffed. Hawks just looked at the 2 criminals off the corner of his eyes. He wanted to shake his head, so he did. Imagine that. Funny coming from you, Overhaul. Didn't you do all those things in the raid? Overhaul cringed before responding. The irony does not escape me. Touché. In the back trailer, Muscular was behind the ATV turret. Pew pew! Pew pew! Unlike Gentle Criminal and Overhaul, a collar was around Muscular's neck with a single glowing red dot, signaling the quirk suppressor was functional. Stain sat on the side bench against a wall in quiet meditation. On his forearms were bracers that served 2 functions, blade storage and quirk suppression. Much like Muscular, the bracers he wore also had a small red LED indicating the quirk suppressor was on. Why the hell do I get a collar? Goofy mustache boy does not even have quirk suppressor on. The collar clanged against the turret. He wasn't lying about Gentle Criminal. However, the warden held his precious La Brava captive. That and the bomb in his head also provided proper motivation. The same reason Big Bird over there is here. On the opposite bench, sitting like a statue, its eyes never leaving the dolt in the turret, was the USJ Nomu. The Warden scientists found a way to reverse engineer its programming, and now was his enforcer and Muscular's babysitter. Ooh, I got shivers. Muscular was shaking, but not due to being sarcastic or funny. He was shaking, his body out of fear. Pure, unyielding fear, hiding behind a murderous smile that formed upon his dry lips. Shut it! The hero killer gritted his teeth at him. He wanted to slice that bastard down, but the guards were there. All his gear was either locked up in the Guardian lockers or in his bracers, which only the commander could unlock. Oh, piss off! Muscular then pointed the turret at Stain. Pew pew. Stain then sent him a 1,000-yard stare. Ooh, keep scaring me like that, Stain-chan, and I'll get all hot and bothered. Fool. Stain then looked at the Nomu, who just stared at Muscular. I'll have you bathing in your own blood soon enough. Stain kept his eyes on the Nomu. Though it was Muscular's babysitter, it did not mean it would not attack him if need be. He's gonna be trouble. I do not sense any blood in him. The Nomu gave a quiet warble as it continued its vigil over its assignment. The ride was smooth. The vehicle suspension was on a whole other level. No one could feel even a single bump or drag as the Havoc sped towards its destination, exiting on an off-ramp to a common road that quickly went from asphalt to dirt. A red light went off in the trailer. What the hell is that? Looking up at the lights, the villains gave a low growl. That can't be good. If Stain only knew how true that statement was about to become. A monitor next to the right Guardian locker came on. We're nearing mission start, little birdies. The two convicts drew their attention to the screen before them, with hawks on it. Do we have all the intel we need, or do we have a confidential informant? Stain was not about to go on blindly. He was not some common idiot like his compatriot. Ooh, good question, Bloodsport. The nickname caused the hero killer to hiss and growl at the monitor. I am Stain. The commanding officer just waved him off. Yeah, I know, and don't care. And his name is Jiren. The Shadow Broker? At the CI's name, Hawks tilted his head. He was impressed. Not very shadowy if you know his name, but yes, him. I always knew he was a traitor. A sudden clap of fist-meeting palm caused the Nomu to let out a warning warble. Muscular just tried to ignore it, but was failing. He plays for the highest bidder, the purest form of capitalism. He has no loyalties. Hawks chuckled to himself. Lucky for us, we have a nigh-infinite budget to work with. Boots on the ground in 10. He then winked at them, and with that, Hawks punched off. It was then 5 when the Havoc hissed to a stop near a dirt path that led into a forest. The back trailer opened its rear doors as a ramp then descended, as the ATV automatically reversed, deploying from the trailer. Stain, scout ahead, sticking to the trees. Stain just looked at Hawks like he lost his damn mind. Listen, Bloodsport, I have no time for your defiant ass right now. Hawks cracked his neck as he blocked a strike from the hero killer. He then backhanded him like a 2-bit whore, then pulled out a detonator. Scout, or the city'll have to send for cleanup. Either of which, I don't give the slightest whiff of a fuck about. Choose. Hawks then turned his head to look at Stain, who grumbled, swearing revenge against the winged hero before leaping into the trees. Good. How droll. Hawks then turned to face the proper criminal. How often the simplest of orders can break the most fragile of egos. What the hell are you on about? Hawks raised an eyebrow. Don't make me slap you too. You brute! Gentle Criminal placed a hand upon his person. To put it plainly, it is easier to get through our assignments through the gnashing and grinding of our teeth rather than, well, you saw. Yeah, I'm gonna slap that goofy-ass beard off your face. Maybe I'll wear it like a mask, too. The proper gentleman was becoming more and more popular with Muscular. You foul-mouthed ruffian in barely human skin! How dare you! The retort was direct and to the point. Gentle Criminal knew sooner or later their interaction will come to the brutal art of fisticuffs. Shut up, both of y'all! Overhaul, Muscular, and you too, Gentle, in the ATV. He then heard a warble. Nomu, just keep an eye on them from the forest. You'll be our surprise. The Nomu nodded his head yes, and walked into the forest, making sure to keep out of sight. I am simply Hawk slapped the taste out of Gentle Criminal's mouth. You foul beast of a man! Well, I do have wings, pretty bird. And with a sharp shing that rang out, Hawks popped out his wings instantly, only to have them stopped right at Gentle's neck. Do not test me. He then looked over at Overhaul. Nothing? I was actually hoping you would slice his throat. The former Yakuza boss just shrugged before cracking his neck. He honestly just wanted to get this thing done. Ooh, Bird Boy got me all hot and bothered for nothing. That's cold. Think of my poor, murderous, blued balls! This was followed by the vile man blowing a kiss at the crimson-winged hero. Hawks rolled his eyes as he then issued orders to them. One, before they get to the village, to do a perimeter sweep around the entire mission site. It wasn't very big, so it should not take too long. And then finally, two, after the perimeter sweep, stay out of sight until he contacted them. He was going to meet up with the CI and get an update on the cult's antics. Before we get back to the video, I also want to talk about our new channel, Celestia, our channel dedicated to all things Dungeons and Dragons. Currently, we have a series breaking down the different spells in D&D, and soon we'll be starting some new series as well. So if you're a fan of D&D or have an interest in learning about it, check it out. Additionally, if there is something you've always wanted to see get made into a video, head over there and leave a comment mentioning it. That's it for now, so let's get back to the video. Orders given, Muscular took position behind the turret, his weight bringing down the suspension in the back of the ATV. Overhaul was in the driver's seat, for he did not trust the goofy bastard with the Van Dyke beard to even breathe properly, much less drive. The back end of the ATV was still lowered, even with the two fully grown men in the front seats. Hawks pulled the trigger on the same detonator that held the lives of his team in his hands. The trigger released the safety feature in place, allowing Overhaul to drive the ATV. The ATV was push-start, as it whined twice, then turned on, engaging the electric motor. The engine sounded like a jet taking off, only not as loud. Sensors, dials, and even a satellite radio that doubled as an on-field communications activated, illuminating a low LED glow. With a built-in GPS that connected to an HPSC satellite, if the group veered off course in an attempt to escape, the bombs in their heads would go off. You either follow orders, or you're dead. It was as simple as that. Hawks then spread his wings, and with a silent mighty flap, launched into the air, heading to the CI meeting place. Hawks hovered over the area, acting as if he was on a normal aerial patrol, when he saw the signal mirror. He then flapped his wings once again into a back loop before diving to the ground below. He released his wings fully, causing him to break suddenly and gracefully land. Heh, nailed it. He then heard a slow clapping, then guns cocking. Sorry, Hawks. Hawk's eyes narrowed as he saw his CI walking like a shambled zombie. The village. Shit. Hawks then covered himself with his wings as bullets rang out as he touched his earpiece. Hawks to team were too late. Before he could pull the trigger on the detonator again, the bullets felt off. As a matter of fact, they bounced off him. Airsoft. He then heard the maniacal laughter coming from a now normal walking Jiren. Cancel that order, team. Each one of his team members acknowledged via the pings ringing out from his ear. The hell, man? You should have seen your face. Hawk shook his head. The look of betrayal. Hawk suddenly dashed forward, grabbing Jiren by the throat, launching them both up and directly past the clouds. He then held out his arm. Jiren was now pale, paler than he normally was, from the sudden rush of G-forces, which sent all the blood from his upper extremities to his lower ones. Easy now. Your blood still hasn't returned to your brain just yet. So listen up, my little stool pigeon. Hawk's arm was now visibly shaking, as was Jiren's eyes from their little ride up there. The CI was trying to stay conscious, barely, as he continued to shake in utter terror. Oof! I need to work out more. So, his arm giving out, Hawks let go of Jiren and shook the feeling back in his arm. Jiren's eyes widened as time seemed to slow down around him. His stupid little prank had cost him his life. Used to be a lot easier to hold on to people. Hawks then looked around, raising his eyebrows. Jiren? He then called out the broker's name again, even cupping his hand along the outside of his ear, trying to hear for a response. Oh yeah, that's right. You fucked around and found out. The number 2 hero snapped his fingers and slammed his fist into his left palm. Jiren was screaming at the top of his lungs as the ground was quickly rising to meet him. Hawks then met him and was now diving right beside him. His arms were crossed and a smile was plastered upon his face. Are you insane? Hawks gave him a curiously musing look, then shrugged his shoulders. That's a question you should dutifully meditate on as you plummet to your imminent demise. Hawks continued to smile while pointing to the ground rapidly approaching. The hero gave a whimsical grin. What? More screaming followed as Hawks continued to grin unaffected to what was quickly approaching. You have about, I'd say less than a minute before you go splat. Rotating to his back looking skyward, Hawks stretched his stiff joints. I don't wanna die! Gravity was pulling up the tears coming out of the Shadow Broker's eyes. This was it. Should have thought of that before he shot at me. Toodles! Unfurling his wings, Hawks flipped Jiren off as the air caught him, sending him up like a parachute. Wait, no, please, God in heaven, no, I'm sorry! The poor bastard watched in horror as Hawks was quickly becoming smaller. Ta-ta, see you in hell! The stool pigeon quickly reduced in size as Hawks continued to offer his one-finger salute. Jiren tapped his earpiece that immediately connected to Hawks's. I'll wave my fee, I'm sorry! Now we're talking. Hawks then dive-bombed, snatching Jiren seconds before he went splat, then took off skyward. Hawks then slowly descended, dropping Jiren hard, causing the broker to bust both his ankles. The trick is to land in a crouch, then immediately roll, eliminating fall damage. Hawks then demonstrated perfectly. Jiren, with tears in his eyes, groaned in pain. Oh, quit being a baby dipshit. Sit rep, now! Back with Muscular and crew, the muscle fiber villain spun the turret with a mighty hit from his left hand. This is bullshit! That fucking bird gave me blue balls again! Overhaul turned his head back, staring at Muscular. Your murder boner will be relieved soon enough. Overhaul closed his eyes, then returned his gaze back at the entrance to the village. Muscular pulled on his collar as a silent alarm went off. Not a good idea, fool. Before anyone realized anything, Muscular gagged as both driver and passenger looked back with wide eyes. The Nomu warbled as its massive hand squeezed Muscular's neck. Muscular threw his hands up in surrender as the Nomu lifted the murderous bastard up and off the turret. The ATV's suspension bounced up when the massive weight was lifted from it. Muscular was then slammed hard into the ground, creating a decent impact crater. The Nomu then got really close to Muscular's ear, letting out a low, sinister warble, warning him not to do that again. I get it, monster. So says the monster himself, the irony dripping off of his tongue like venom. Muscular was released and looked up at the right proper villain. He was done with Gentle running his mouth unchecked. Who was he to look down on him, on anyone for that matter? Wasn't he the one that green-haired puffball took down with little effort? He then spat to the side as he remembered his own encounter with the boy. Banishing the memory away, mocking the source of his ire, Muscular spoke. I do declare I will cast your freshly corpsed body down and fornicate with your eye socket afterwards. Gentle Criminal let out a horrified gasp. Proper way! That's just vile, even for you. giving a shudder at the imagery now engraved in his mind. Overhaul shook his head, banishing the thought. Who asked you, Metalbeak? Overhaul just narrowed his eyes, disgusted by the monster in front of him. Inside the village, Stain had successfully infiltrated their ranks. He was now parkouring from building to building, gathering as much intel on the cult of the sun as he could. In the last building he landed upon, he found ceremonial robes that were for one of the priests. Quickly changing into them, he exited the building via the front door and then slipped in line with a group of priests. My brothers and sisters, give to the light! Stain heard a voice over the PA system. Give your all to our Lord and Savior! This was clearly Dictator, Stain concluded. Gigantomachia! At the monster's name, the Titanous villain shot out from the trees with a mighty roar. Not good. Stain's thoughts caused him to then break away from the group he was in. Slipping in between two buildings, his actions did not go unnoticed as a former Yakuza turned fanatic spotted him shedding his clothes. This was Tank Tetsu, quirk, shining armor. Short explanation, he can form armor that could fire off lasers in different directions at will. Official MHA wiki does not give a proper name for the quirk, only an explanation. Name is given by writer's interpretation. Stain looked around, then jumped through a window, then to the ceiling. Tank Tetsu followed him in, but lost him. Stain stood a moment. He could take the bastard out, or let him lose interest. I know I saw that interloper come in here. Stain then heard his earpiece ping. Where did he go? Stain's eyes narrowed as he debated within himself to terminate the threat or knock him out. I know you are in here. There was a horrifying sing-song to Tank's voice. To others, it might be unnerving. However, this fool was not affecting his target. This was the hero killer Stain. Normally, it would not be a question to even ponder. However, Stain now had a bomb in his head. Tank Tetsu then looked up and stared at Stain blankly for a moment before he then smiled. I found you. Now he had to come up with an answer fast, because he was now staring into the eyes of his pursuer. And that is our video for the day, so thank you all for sticking around. I hope you enjoyed it. Before I go, a little bit of housekeeping. First, I would like to say that if you're in the mood for some more great storytelling, then We the Celestials has you covered! Our We the Celestials, My Hero Academia, and Naruto What If channels retell the story of their namesake anime with a twist. Check out more if you're interested. We have tons of stories, please. Secondly, on behalf of We the Celestials, I want to thank everyone who was involved in today's excellent content production. Their details can be found in the description below. Please give some love to the writer and the audio editor and the video editor because they do a lot of amazing work here. Finally, if you like what we do here with the Celestials, then I want to extend an invitation to join our team. We only have one caveat, though, is you must be 16 years or older to join our crew. You can sign up for whichever category fulfills your interests by joining the recruitment Discord using the link in the description below. But that's it for today's video, so thank you all for watching and have an amazing day. And as always, be kind to yourselves, be kind to others, and stay awesome. This has been Tim. Mustache out.